what to do after getting accepted to college in case this happens to you. This already happened to you over the break, or this happens to you in the coming days, because again, a lot of the early action, early decision, decisions are going to be coming out right now. So I'm going to be doing this presentation. I'm going to be going over the best practices, ways in which you could even improve your financial aid award package, and the common misconceptions or the biggest pitfalls so that you avoid them. So that's going to be the topic of the presentation. And as always, and if this is your first time here, just so that you know, at the end of the live stream, I always finish up with an interactive Q&A session. So for example, right now, I am live on YouTube and Facebook, and I see that, for example, we have Laura in the comments section, and I'm sharing her comment right now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I also see Misha saying, hey. Misha is saying, hey. And as you continue to join, or as I am talking about something, if I say something that you don't necessarily understand, or you have your own individual question about your current situation, I'll be more than happy to answer it. So the way that this is going to work out is, as the presentation goes on, you can keep on asking your questions, and I'll let them pile up. And by the time the presentation reaches an end, so probably like 20, 30 minutes in, I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up the chat, and the same way that I'm sharing Misha's comment right now, or that I'm sharing the Best College Aid Accounts comment saying, hello, everyone, let us know where you're joining from. I'm going to do the same thing, share it on the screen, read it out for everyone so that we're all on the same page, and I'm going to be answering those questions. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier about winter break, I know that a lot of the people that we've been helping out have been people who rely usually a lot on their high school counselor, and they don't have a way to reach them now because of the winter break. So hopefully this is reaching the right audience, and you can take advantage of this next 45 minutes to ask your questions and learn a thing or two, okay? And just to share some more of the comments, we have Jenna Dean also on YouTube saying, hi, Francisco, happy New Year's, hey, happy 2023. It's the first live stream of the year, which reminds me of a couple of more housekeeping items that I want to go over with you all. Number one is, as I said, first live stream of 2023, just so that you know what our calendar or what our schedule is moving forward and for the rest of the foreseeable future, certainly for 2023, is we are doing these live streams at 7 p.m. on Mondays on YouTube and Facebook. So right now, if you're watching me either on YouTube or on Facebook. And yeah, as you can see, when I share the comments, for example, Jenna Dean's comment, you can see the little YouTube logo on the bottom left. That's because she commented that through YouTube. And if you comment through Facebook, I'll be able to share those comments. All right. So that's what I'm doing right now, Monday, 7/16. So that's what that is. And on Tuesdays, it is on Instagram and TikTok. And usually what we get is mostly we get parents on Mondays on YouTube and Facebook. And then on Tuesdays, we get a combination of parents with a few students sprinkled here and there, just because of who uses those platforms. But that is why it's important for me, for you to comment and help me out, letting me know either on the YouTube or Facebook comment section, whether you're a parent or a student and where you're watching us from, so that I can have an idea of who is asking these questions, and I can go ahead and answer everything that you're asking, but with examples that are pertinent and examples that are specific to a parent in Florida or wherever you're watching us from. So if you can go ahead and make use of that comment section, as I'm showing right now, Best College Aid USA is, and that's David and Laura who helped me with the Spanish live streams. They're the ones monitoring the chat with the Best College Aid accounts. They're commenting, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Yes, certainly. Thank you for joining. Keep making use of that chat feature. And as I mentioned, at the end of the presentation, I'm going to scroll back up to the chat, and I'm going to be reading out loud all of your questions, and I will hopefully be giving you the pointers, the next steps, what you should be doing, and guide you and set you up in the right direction so that you can start 2023 with the best road towards college, and towards helping your students this year, whether they are in middle school, freshmen, sophomore, junior, or seniors in high school. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, as I mentioned, the topic of today's presentation is what to do after getting accepted to college. Okay, so a lot of people think that once your student is accepted to college and they decide that they're going to go to XYZ school, everything else is set in stone. They just have to wait around for the fall to come around and for them to just show up to the school. Maybe they have to worry about setting up orientation. Whatever they were offered in financial aid and scholarships is what they're going to receive. And that's that. So a lot of people usually use the months of January towards like May, and they just sit around and they just enjoy their senior year or let their students, have a very low pressure. And it should be that way. They should be enjoying their senior year, all of my students, especially during this last semester. However, the whole point of today's presentation is going to be all about what they can do to increase their odds of getting a higher amount or increase the size of their financial aid award package through the different sources of income, which could be federal, institutional, state, and private aid. Okay, so that's going to be what I'm going to be discussing in the presentation. What are the next steps to get more money, but also what are the next steps to make sure that all the ducks are in a row and everything's in order and you don't make any mistakes that could be costly in the future. Okay, so there are 3 things that I want to share with that. But first, I do want to take a second to congratulate some of our best college aid students. We like to do this every January, the first live stream of the year. We've been doing it for the last 2. This is the 3rd time that we do this. And I want to go ahead and congratulate not just the students who have gotten their early acceptances this break, but also last admission cycle, the one that ended, well, obviously in like May of 2022. The more recent success stories that we've had, I want to congratulate our best college aid students that, among many other schools, they got into Harvard, UNC Chapel Hill, Boston College, Louisville, University of Pennsylvania, Boston University, UF, NYU. NYU was this recent early cycle, ASU, Milwaukee, Minnesota. So yeah, those are the places, some of the places to where our best college aid students are going. And on top of that, here are some of the screenshots that they've allowed us to share regarding their award packages, how much money they received. As you can see, if you zoom in, you can see that, for example, the UPenn one is close to $70,000 per year. The Harvard one is also very substantial. So yeah, that's for NYU, UPenn, Harvard. And the Facebook post is for the University of Louisville. Okay, so those are students sending us their success stories and telling us all about the awards that they received, the financial help that they received, the scholarship that they received. And the reason why I'm starting with this, I know that the topic of today's presentation is what your students should be doing after they get accepted. And and showing this might seem like a little arbitrary or kind of random. But in reality, I want to start off with this because these students followed to the T the lessons inside Best College Aid and follow the steps, of which some of them are what I'm going to talk about throughout the rest of this presentation, which all summed up towards building the financial aid award packages and scholarship packages that you're seeing right now on your screen. So I thought it was very important to give you all the context or sort of the end goal, give you all the end goal as to what you should be striking towards or aspiring to, which is, again, the screenshots that you're seeing on the screen for our students, so that when I'm doing or going over the steps to get there, you understand the purpose as to why, the first step is going to be, for example, without spoiling it, I guess, is negotiating your financial award package, right? Because all of those little things that I'll be talking about throughout the rest of the presentation sum up towards the results that you're seeing in the screen. All right, so want to start with that, and congratulations to our best college aid students. And there are many more acceptances to come in the coming months. All right, but with that being said, let's get started with the 3 main things that a student should do, or you as a parent should be doing after getting accepted. So the first thing is to make a counter offer. Okay, so basically what we've worked with a lot of our students inside Best College Aid, and a great way to get the most out of your acceptance, and this can be done very strategically even before you get accepted to the school, but something that students don't know that they can do is if they apply to a school, right? And as you're seeing, some of our students shared us their financial award packages that I just shared. You attach to your acceptance, you get a financial award package that breaks down, yes, the cost of going to that school, but also everything that a student is being offered in the sum of grants, scholarships, subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans, and all that jazz that compiles what a student should ultimately end up paying for their education, right? And a lot of people think that once they receive that financial award letter, okay, that's what I have to pay, that's what I'm being offered, period. That's it. And in reality, when a financial award package does not necessarily satisfy the demonstrated financial need or the actual financial need of the household, a student could go ahead, and obviously this depends, the exact procedure depends on the school. Some schools have very bureaucratic, well-established systems in place that, oh, okay, if you're not given enough money to cover your education, then fill out this form, fill out and submit this additional documentation to let us know about your, the way that your household's need changed over the last few months, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, the point is the same. The point is that if you want to go to a school and they are offering you a financial aid award package that does not necessarily satisfy your financial need, then it is completely within your right. And I very much encourage you. And one thing that we teach our best college age students to do is to ask the college for more merit-based and need-based scholarships. All right. So pretty much the process would go something like this, right? You're offered acceptance to University X, and they give you a financial award package that is, you, after you do a calculation, you're budgeting, you realize you need $7,000, $10,000, whatever the case might be, for to make ends meet and to pay for that education. Well, it is in your best interest to reach out to the financial aid award office, ask them or inquire about any pre-established processes of filling out, appeal forms, or if they don't have an appeal form, what would the process look like in order to qualify for whether it's a grant, an additional scholarship. Maybe you weren't offered work study through the federal government, but maybe they have a similar program that is at the institutional level. And by inquiring about that, and it's also a very good idea to have documentation or information to back this up, whether this would be a parent getting laid off, or whether this would be an additional bill or charge or expense that maybe you didn't have before that is now affecting your family's finances. Being able to provide this documentation is a great way to get universities that accepted you to maybe reevaluate the institutional awards that they have provided for you, that they have offered you. All right. So very much know that if you need more money to fund your education, the first stop should be the financial aid award office for your institution, and inquire about any sort of processes that they have to increase the financial award letter. And it's always also a good idea to, when you're applying to colleges, or when you received acceptance to colleges, to compare and contrast the final amount of money, not just that you're being offered, but also how that compares to the percentage of the cost of attendance, so that okay, between University A and University B, this one is offering me this amount and it costs this amount, and same thing with this other university. What is the bottom line dollar amount that I have to end up paying, and which one is actually going to be cheaper for me, right? Because just because a school is offering you more money doesn't necessarily mean that you'll pay less, because the school could just be more expensive, right? So all those things are very important to know, and I would definitely start with reaching out directly to the universities and inquiring about, again, institutional procedures that they have in place to appeal a package, whether that is sending in a letter, documentation, filling out a form. They'll be able to guide you and sort of walk you through what that process would be like to revisit your offered award package. Okay. So that was the first thing that you should do when you get accepted to a school, especially if you notice that the amount offered is not going to be enough for you to attend the university. Number two, okay, once you have been accepted to all the schools that you applied to, or you have your options laid out in front of you, you're going to have to make that final decision, and you're going to have to help your student, if you're a parent, make that final decision as to what schools they're going to be accepting or rejecting based on their financial aid and the scholarships that they're offering the student. Okay, so basically, once you decide, okay, I want to go to University X, you are going to be offered, as I showed you in this slide. When you can see, if you zoom into these screenshots, especially the ones that the ones on the left, the NYU and the UPenn one, they show all the amount of money that's being offered, whether that is Pell Grants, whether that is, if you were to scroll a little bit further down, some of them could have, work study, some of them could have loans offered at the institutional level, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The next step after you decide where you want to go to school is to go through the financial award letter that's being offered to you, which again is what I just showed you, and item by item accept and decline the money that's being offered to you, right? And this is something that when you are going to college for the first time, and I know back when I was a student, a lot of the students that I currently have, they don't understand the difference between the types of money that's being offered to you, right? They don't understand the difference between a scholarship, a grant, work study, loans, and they just think that it's all money for my education. Well, yes, but not all of it behaves the same way, nor comes with the same sort of implications. So pretty much to just take out all the thinking and definitions and explaining, what we encourage our best college age students to do is to use the following order to determine what money being offered to you should accept first and which ones you should reserve till the very end. Okay, so first you should accept the no-brainer, the free money, and that is scholarships and grants. Why? Because when they are offering you, let's say, the presidential scholarship or the institutional grant for blah 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 blah, or the federal Pell Grant, all those things are free money that you don't have to pay back. Okay, those are what you think of in the more traditional scholarship sense. Okay, so you should always start accepting that amount, and usually that's done automatically, so you don't even have to worry about that. Number two is money that is given out in the form of work study. For those of you who have never heard this term before, this is something that we've talked about in previous live streams, but pretty much work study is a federal program in which a student with a certain degree of financial need can be offered employment through the university, and if they work through the university, they can earn those wages and it goes to their pockets, but it's, supposed to go towards funding their education. And again, this employment or these opportunities are accessed through qualifying through the federal government, which then in turn works with the university to go ahead and offer work study for the students. And yeah, if after you accept all of your scholarships and grants, you're also offered work study, that would be a great way to get low pressure, because those are employments, or these are jobs that are meant for college students, and you don't have to pay back because you're earning that money as you work along and as you go along, whether this is working in the library, working as a lifeguard at the student pool, whether that is working in a lab. There's a lot of different opportunities offered through work study. One thing that we do teach our members, and that I want you to take advantage of learning right now, is that if you can make your work study opportunity line up with your if your student can get their work study employment to be in a field that they're interested in or that they're majoring in, then that's perfect. If your student wants to if your student is studying pre-med, or she wants to be a chemist or work in a lab, then she should see if there are work study opportunities interning at a lab or working at a lab, and that's a way to sort of streamline their area of interest. Okay, that was just a little deviation for a nice little free tip on work study. And then the final type of money that you should accept, and again, that's if after everything else that you've accepted is still not enough to pay for college, the very last thing that you should do is accept federal loans. And I specify federal because you might see when you are visiting or reviewing your students' financial aid award letter that they might be offered different types of loans. There are private loans, there are federal loans, and then they're going to have all these different classifications as to whether or not they are subsidized or unsubsidized. Basically, the federal loans are the ones that have usually the lowest interest rate and that are subsidized, meaning that the interest does not start to kick in. So whatever interest that it's determined by the loan does not start to accumulate until after the student graduates. So they don't accumulate that interest on their principal throughout the 4 years. Okay, so all that mumbo jumbo is just a long way of saying, if you have to take out a loan, go ahead and probably start with a federal one because they usually have the better conditions for the loan. Okay, so that is the long explanation as to what this slide is, but in a summarized way, or in short, you should review your financial aid award letter and first accept scholarships and grants, then accept work study if you think that if you're being offered work study, and if you think that you can handle it with your classes and everything else. It's usually not very demanding, so I would certainly recommend for you to accept work study if you are being offered it. And then the final one is loans, but always, again, look at the conditions, whether it's subsidized or unsubsidized, what the interest rate is, and take out the least predatory loan that you can, which, again, usually out of the ones being offered, federal loans tend to have the best conditions for it. Okay, so that was that slide. And again, we relied a lot on the award packages that we got from our students lately. Again, you can see on the left, one's from NYU, the other one's from UPenn, and then the other ones are just notifications from Harvard and from our private Facebook group where our students were sharing about Louisville and about, all these other places that they've been accepted. But you're starting to get an idea as to why I shared these screenshots first, so that you know how they kind of play along with the following steps. Okay, you can't just get your notification, your award package, and then kind of sit on it. You should, as I said in the first slide of the presentation, see if you need to make a counter offer to increase the institutional awards that you're receiving. Number two, accept and reject the money being offered to you, and obviously start with scholarships, grants, then move on to work study, then the best conditions of the federal of loans being offered to you. And then the final step of this presentation that I wanted to share with you is make sure that you pay the enrollment deposit. Paying the enrollment deposit, especially on time, is a good way to make sure that you're set up for orientation, that you are set up to enroll in school, and you don't want to have to pay any sort of late fees. You don't want to, if certain schools have a policy where they're very, very strict about their enrollment deposit, and you won't be able to start the semester you would accept to if you don't submit this enrollment deposit. You don't want to make those mistakes. It's very easy to do usually whenever you get accepted. If you have not yet been accepted, let me give you a little bit of a spoiler as to what you will encounter. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to get your email with your acceptance decision, or they're going to send you an email saying, oh, your decision is available. Register, log into the portal, the decision portal where you apply to college, and check it out. And you check it out, and it tells you whether you're accepted or not. And if you're accepted, usually they'll come along with the financial award package that I showed you earlier. And additional to that, at the bottom of the screen, at the bottom of the email, at the bottom of the portal where it tells you whether you were accepted or not, it's going to have a link to pay the enrollment deposit. A lot of schools will have a deadline for the enrollment deposit that is later on, because they are aware that students are going through the whole admission cycle, and that is why decision day is May 1st. The day by which all students need to make the decision as to where they'll go to college out of every place that they were accepted. So yeah, if your student knows early on where they want to go to school and they've made their decision, the first step, again, just to recap everything that we've talked about in this presentation, urge them to go ahead and see if they can renegotiate their award package. The worst thing that they can say is no, especially if you go through the process of submitting additional documentation demonstrating a change in your family's finances, or if you were accepted to a school that offers a more substantial award package. You can inquire about, okay, I want to go to your school, but this other school is offering me more money. You should guide your student, or invite your student to inquire about that. That's something that we teach our members inside Best College Aid. Next up, after they do that little bit of negotiation, hopefully that tacks on an extra couple thousands of dollars, whatever the case might be, to the offered awards. You should move on to what we talked about in the previous slide, which is accepting the money being offered to you in the order that is most convenient to least convenient, and that is grants first, scholarships, then work study, finally loans. And now you finish it all off after making that whole song and dance. You finish it all off with paying the enrollment deposit. And yeah, you want to make sure that you do it before the deadline. And yeah, those are the three most important things that I wanted to share with you all today in regards to the next steps for after you are accepted. Now, as always, I am going to finish up with a bit of a Q&A session. But before I get to answer your questions in the chat, I do want to let you all know that this was just a quick little presentation that I try to keep this as topically relevant. Again, if you've watched our live streams on previous weeks, you know that we always try to share information that is kind of going in parallel with the stage of the college admissions process that we're in. So for example, right now I'm talking about what to do after you're accepted, because over the winter break and over the coming weeks, a lot of the decisions for the early action, early decision applications will be coming out. And I know that later in February and March, more decisions are going to come out. So that is why today's topic was what to do after you're accepted. But for example, whenever the SAT or ACT are coming back around, we do live streams on how to prepare for them. We do live streams whenever applications open up on the best practices for applying. So again, these live streams, they're great. And I hope that I'm giving you a lot of value. But if you want to sort of do a overall grand presentation that is not necessarily topical, but it has to do more with the overall process and every step of the way, I did write, record, edited, and posted a free training on the 6 strategies to help your children get accepted to college with scholarships. And that is, if you want to go ahead and watch that, it's completely free to register, first of all. But if you want to go ahead and register for that, all you have to do is click on the link below this video. So for example, I'm going to show you right now. If you're watching on YouTube, this is me. And now this is me talking about my YouTube video with me in the corner. It's kind of a little meta. But if you scroll down to the description and you see this little thing that says register to watch a free training, and you click this link, you'll be able to open up the registration page for the free training, 6 steps to go to college with scholarships. That's me, my dad, my sister, David, who are monitoring the chats, my mom, and Vidal. And yeah, that is a free presentation that goes over every step of the way on how we as a family collectively got over $500,000 in scholarships, and how now we are helping families reach results like the ones I'm showing you on screen. You know, award packages of over $70,000 at schools like NYU, UPenn, Harvard, Louisville, and many, many more that will be coming out from our students in the following months. All right. So that is a resource that a lot of people ask me for, because again, these live streams, yes, I am going to answer all of your questions, and I try to do the presentations that are topical to, again, the month of the year that we're on. But people ask me for like a crash course or something that's a little bit more comprehensive, especially because they might not know all of the terminology that I use throughout this live stream. So if you want a starting point, definitely check out that free resource in the link in my bio. And on top of that, if you are also interested in coming on more of these live streams and learning a thing or two about how to help your student, do know, again, here's another reminder that I am completely live every week, Monday, 7 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. And then tomorrow I'll be back, but this time will be on Instagram and TikTok. And the handle for all those accounts, as you probably know if you're watching us on YouTube and Facebook, is Best College Aid USA. It's the same thing across the board. So if you want to watch tomorrow, or if you want to share it with your student because maybe they're more active on Instagram and TikTok, or you want to share it with another parent, do know that we do this every week. Best College Aid USA. And if you follow us, you can see all sorts of other content that we post, which are like scholarship deadlines, which are important reminders as to when the SAT, ACT is, little skits on how to improve, financial aid award offers and all that jazz. That's what we dedicate our everyday to. Best College Aid is just grabbing information that, private college counselors can charge, thousands of dollars for, and free high school counselors have the best intentions to share, but unfortunately they have to attend 450 students every year. So the idea is to take the information that's, usually very concealed, not necessarily because lack of intent from high school counselors, but rather lack of resources with time, and then private college concierges, they might be a little bit too expensive. So again, our everyday is trying to take that information and do live streams like this one, and hopefully more people, like for example Jenna Dean, who's commenting this information was so helpful. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. I'm glad you find it helpful, and I'm glad that this is reaching the right audience, because that's the whole point of us doing these live streams and creating Best College Aid and putting all that content out there on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. So that's it. That's it. I'm gonna read some questions now, but just to recap, free presentation is in the link in my bio, or the description of this video below. And also, if you want to follow us on our socials, Best College Aid USA. Okay, that's it for reminders that I had to do. Now I'm gonna go in the chat, and as promised, I'm gonna read some of the comments. Lilia is saying hi, hello. So that's Lilia. Jenna Dean said this information is so helpful, and I'm looking for questions, and I do not seem to find any new questions that I didn't answer throughout the presentation. So I'm gonna stall for the next like 2 minutes for you to ask me any more if you have any more questions. And if I don't see any more questions in the next few minutes, I am going to call it a day. So just a reminder, I'll be back on Instagram and TikTok at Best College Aid USA to do the same presentation on what to do after you are accepted. And again, the whole point of what we talked about today is to improve the financial award package that's being offered, be intelligent about the money that you agree to receive in the form of grants versus scholarships versus work study versus loans, which ones are the good ones and which ones you should stay away from, or which ones you should consider first. And then the final consideration that we talked about today is making sure that enrollment deposit is submitted on time. All right, that's all I had prepared for today. I will see you all tomorrow on Instagram and TikTok. If not, I'll see you next week. And again, check out that link in bio if you're interested in learning more. Francisco Cantu here. Have a blessed rest of your night and happy 2023, y'all. Bye-bye.